Why we now need more black academics, not fewer. I used to love watching Pete Sampras play tennis. For anyone familiar with tennis, Sampras was known for having one of the biggest serves in the game. And one thing I always noticed about him was what happened when he faulted on his first serve. Most players naturally take something off the second serve. They become cautious because another fault means losing the point. Sampras often seemed to do the opposite. He'd go after the second serve with even more conviction. I always loved that mentality. You make a mistake, but instead of shrinking, becoming timid, or being afraid to play your game, you reset and commit again. And that's strangely how I've started thinking about the whole Jason Arday controversy. Recently, underneath one of my own videos, somebody left this comment. Another Jason Arday, pretending one thing but being another, whatever that means. And I found the comment revealing, not because it upset me, but because of what it assumed. I have absolutely nothing to do with Jason Arday. I'm not connected to Cambridge. I'm not connected to his research. I'm not connected to any allegations surrounding him. And before this controversy, I don't think most ordinary people even heard of Jason Arday. He was certainly prominent in higher education. His appointment received attention because he became Cambridge's youngest black professor, and his personal journey was celebrated as an extraordinary achievement. But he wasn't some universally known black public figure. Yet almost overnight, his name apparently can be thrown at another black man, another Jason Arday. The word that interests me here is another. Another what? Another black man speaking confidently? Another black man presenting an argument? Another black man somebody thinks sounds too educated? Because Jason Arday's name is already being turned into something bigger than Jason Arday. It's becoming shorthand for suspicion. A way of saying we've seen articulate black men before, perhaps you're pretending too. And that's exactly why I don't think the response of this controversy should be retreat. It shouldn't be embarrassment. It shouldn't be us becoming nervous about black people entering universities or occupying intellectual spaces. My response is the Pete Sampras response. Hit the second serve harder. We need more black academics, not fewer. One of the problems with underrepresentation is that individuals become symbols. When there are very few people from a particular background inside an institution, every visible person starts carrying more weight than one human being should. If we succeed, the success becomes symbolic. First black this, youngest black that. Look how much we've progressed. But when they fall, the symbolism can run backwards just as quickly. Suddenly, one person's behavior becomes evidence against an entire idea. Now we're questioning diversity. We're questioning whether standards were lowered. We're questioning whether somebody was really qualified. And before long, one individual is being asked to carry the intellectual reputation of millions of people. That's ridiculous. Jason Arday should only ever have to represent Jason Arday. If wrongdoing is proven, then deal with the wrongdoing. If somebody plagiarizes, investigate it. If somebody lies about their qualifications, investigate it. Nobody should be protected from accountability because they're black. But nobody's misconduct should become evidence against everybody else because they're black either. That's the distinction. What I actually want for black people in academia is something that might sound strange. I want us to become ordinary. I don't mean mediocre, I mean ordinary in the sense that one black professor isn't expected to represent everybody. There should be enough black academics that we can have brilliant ones, average ones, difficult ones, eccentric ones, and occasionally bad ones. Black academics I agree with. Black academics I strongly disagree with. Black conservatives, black socialists, black Muslims, black Christians, black atheists, African perspectives, Caribbean perspectives, black British perspectives, people studying race, people who have absolutely no interest in studying race. White academics already have that freedom. Nobody sees one white academic fail and thinks the entire intellectual capacity of white people has been exposed. That is the normality I want. Enough black academics that nobody comes our representative unless we specifically choose them to be. And when I say more black people should enter academia, I don't mean everybody needs to become a professor. Academia is massive. Research, teaching, history, economics, medicine, engineering, psychology, computer science, film, music, theology, sociology, law, education, public policy, archiving. There are countless ways of contributing to knowledge. And I think we need to broaden the way young black people understand these pathways. Most young people know what a footballer does. They know what a rapper does. They know what an influencer does. But ask them what an anthropologist does. Ask what a policy researcher does. Ask what an archivist does. Ask what somebody with a PhD actually spends their time doing. A lot of young people have simply never been exposed to those possibilities. This isn't about intelligence, it's about visibility. If nobody ever shows you the pathway, why would you imagine yourself walking down it? This matters because knowledge isn't neutral. Somebody writes the textbooks, somebody produces the research, somebody decides which questions are worth investigating, somebody develops the terminology, somebody interprets the statistics, somebody becomes the expert journalists call, somebody advises government, somebody decides where research funding goes, somebody supervises the next generation of researchers. Those people aren't usually celebrities. Most academics will never be famous, but their work quietly shapes how the rest of society understands the world. And I want more black people in those spaces. Not because only black people can research black communities, and certainly not because black academics should be trapped into researching race. I want black astrophysicists, black archaeologists, black economists, black computer scientists, black philosophers, black film scholars, black medical researchers, whatever interests them. The point is that no area of knowledge should feel like it belongs to somebody else. And academia isn't as separate from everyday community life as people sometimes think. A youth worker who spent 20 years working with young people knows things. A filmmaker documenting a community knows things. An elder who has watched a neighborhood change over 50 years carries knowledge. A musician understands culture. A community organization that has developed projects for years learns what works, what fails, and why. Academic research gives us tools for taking that knowledge further. Recording it, testing it, comparing it, challenging it, publishing it, preserving it. That matters because if we don't document our own experiences, somebody else eventually will. And their questions won't necessarily be our questions. Their interpretations won't necessarily be our interpretations. We shouldn't only be people who appear inside other people's research. Sometimes we should be conducting that research. I also think we need to get rid of this strange idea that speaking carefully or being intellectually curious somehow makes a black person less authentic. You use certain vocabulary. You talk about politics, you read philosophy, you become interested in history or theology. Suddenly somebody says you're trying to sound clever, or trying to sound white, or pretending to be something you're not. That mentality limits us. Reading isn't white, research isn't white, critical thinking isn't white, being articulate isn't white. Black intellectual traditions existed long before modern diversity programs. C.L.R. James, Walter Rodney, Stuart Hall, W.D. Du Bois, Franz Fanon, Bell Hooks, Angela Davis, and thousands more whose names most of us will never know. Black people have always thought, we've always debated, we've always written, we've always analysed the world around us. The question is whether the next generation feels confident enough to take that curiosity into the institutions where knowledge gets formally produced. And more black academics shouldn't mean everybody thinking the exact same way. Representation without intellectual diversity becomes another kind of box. I want disagreement. I want black scholars challenging one another. Different politics, different religions, different generations, different national backgrounds, different conclusions drawn from the same evidence, because no community has one mind. The moment we have enough intellectual diversity, the idea that one person represents the black view becomes impossible. That's progress. Not one perfect spokesman, thousands of independent minds. And that's why I keep coming back to Pete Sampras. The first serve faults. Now there's pressure. The safe instinct is to take something off. Be cautious. Make sure the next ball lands inside the box. But there was something I always admired about responding to that pressure with commitment. That's how I think we should respond here. If one black academic has made serious mistakes, deal with that individual. Learn whatever lessons need to be learned. But don't let somebody else's failure make the next black student smaller. Don't let it discourage somebody from applying for a master's. Don't let it stop somebody considering a PhD. Don't let it convince a young person that universities or intellectual life somehow belongs to somebody else. Go harder. More researchers, more lecturers, more professors, more historians, more scientists, more people writing, more people asking questions, more people producing knowledge, until one day somebody saying another Jason Arday sounds completely meaningless.